It's still absolutely wild to me how one of the greatest science fiction horror movies of all time was an absolute box office and critical bomb when it first came out. I'm of course talking about John Carpenter's The Thing, truly one of the best horror films ever made, and even now in 2024, something that really hasn't aged. It's also kind of weird how it never really got any follow-ups or spin-offs. I mean, we all know about that god-awful prequel that came out in 2011, something that along with the teenage acne I like to forget ever happened. But aside from that, all we ever got was the 2002 video game aptly named The Thing.
Now let's get inside!
Now, developed by Computer Artworks, this is a third-person shooter originally released for Windows alongside the Xbox and PlayStation 2, which is how I originally played it. And while it wasn't any kind of masterpiece, it was without a doubt one of the best movie tie-in games ever made, with a lot of references and nods to its source material, something that's been a dying art form.
I don't know and I don't care.
A lot of the negativity around it seems to come from early YouTube reviews. In fact, one guy in particular, from a now defunct creator, had some sort of acted out like it was a personal attack or something. But I think the biggest problem is that it's a game made in 2002. You know, considering that those early 2000s were just completely insane when it came to games. So either way, it's definitely kind of fallen off the radar a little bit over the last complete decade or so, and was very much worthy of a revival or remaster, which is what those absolute mad lads at Night Drive Studios have done yet again. Which is why I'm doing a video on it again. And I swear at this point I should start earning a commission or something.
Shit, you got that right.
So, let's grab our parkers and a flamethrower and see the whole thing about, shall we?
I'm locked, loaded, and ready to make shit dead.
Right, so the story takes place directly after the finale of the film, where you're playing as a guy named Blake, which is the first of the many throwbacks and nods to the film, as well as coming across the frozen body of Charles in that same shed where him and McCready spent the final moments with an empty bottle of whiskey lying on the ground beside him, which right off the bat puts to bed the most insistent and annoying fan theory surrounding the film. The one where Charles is infected and the whiskey's meant to be gasoline. He has something come up with people who spend way too much time overanalyzing that movie, when really they should be spending more time taking a shower. From here as well was when the whole thing starts to kick off, and you start getting attacked by thin creatures. And Blake's goal then very quickly just becomes to find the rest of the squad to get the fuck out of there. And that's what's cool about all this stuff. As well as that, it's actually canon. Yeah, believe it or not, John Carpenter himself, who even makes an appearance in this game, by the way, as a scientist guy you briefly work with. Oh yeah, and let's make this opportunity as well. I need to apologize for something I said incorrectly. In the old video, I said that John Carpenter died, which isn't true. Yeah, it might have taken me almost 10 years to admit this failure, but you know, sorry, John. Also worth noting that there's not a single female character, keeping it in line with the movie, with it just being a bunch of blokes hanging out getting caught in the snow, slowly losing their fucking minds in paranoia to fear. You can really see all the effort that they've gone into making this thing look somewhat updated. It's kind of like it's gone from a PS2 game to a PS3 one. The AI is still a bit finicky at times, especially with the pathfinding. You need to do a bit of babysitting to make sure these guys don't get stuck in the doors. But for 2002, stuff like this works pretty well, and getting into combat, set kick-ass is a lot of fun. Well, as trusts, there's also the stress levels to manage. With a lot of these guys being more on edge than a Chinese steelworker, which does make sense considering they have the same life expectancy. Now, this is a cool mechanic, where if they see anything fucked up, like mutilated corpses or photo of Asmongold's kitchen, they'll like really lose their shit and even throw up at times. A guy you encounter early on called Pace almost kills Blake accidentally.
Blake, is that you?
And he has this really endearing accent that makes him just instantly likable.
Yeah, it's me, you jackass.
That actually does bring up a very interesting argument though, because the thought is, if you're a perfect imitation of yourself, well, then what would imply that you have your own memories and personality, right? Which also would mean you probably won't remember or know anything about being infected.
So how do we know who's human?
Either way, showing that the glaring hole in the game and the blood test mechanic doesn't really matter. But then again, like I said, it's 2002 era mechanics we're talking here. So ultimately, you know what? It probably doesn't even mean jack shit.